These are the gifts of the Spirit, love, joy, and peace. The gifts of the Spirit, are you ready to receive? The gifts of the Spirit, love, joy, and peace. All the gifts of the Spirit, are you ready to release? And I meant receive. Love, are you ready? Joy, are you ready? Peace, are you ready? Are you ready to receive? These are the gifts of the Spirit, love, joy, and peace. Gifts of the Spirit, are you ready to receive? All the gifts of the Spirit, love, joy, and peace. The gifts of the Spirit, are you ready to receive? Love, are you ready? Joy, are you ready? Peace, are you ready? Are you ready to receive? Love, are you ready? Say, I'm ready. Joy, are you ready? I'm ready. Good. Peace, are you ready? I'm ready. Ready to receive. One more time. Love, are you ready? There you go. Peace, are you ready? Yeah. Joy, are you ready? Ready to receive. Sing it with me. Ready to receive. Ready to receive. Ready to receive. Last one's mine. I am ready to receive.
Please join me in prayer. I give thanks and I am grateful for coming together this day in recognition of the fact that everything, no matter how we label it or perceive it, is sacred. And that is that movement of our consciousness that reveals this truth to us. I give thanks for every way in which people around the world celebrate the one life that is God, whether that celebration takes place in a mosque, a synagogue, a cathedral, a chapel, a sweat lodge, in the living room, on the mountaintop, in the forest, everywhere that people gather. I give thanks for everyone in the sound of my voice, knowing that they will hear what it is they need to hear. I am grateful for everyone who's come together to make this service possible. Our musician, our sound technician, our practitioners, our hospitality team, and of course our Reverend Jenn, through whom Spirit will deliver a message that each and everyone in the sound of my voice needs to hear for the nourishment of their minds and their bodies, and for the allness that they are. I give thanks for all that there is and the allness of God, releasing my word in the divine law, knowing that it is already done in that divine mind. I let this go and I let it be. Together we affirm, and so it is. Our first words of inspiration for today come from Michael Yaconelli. Spiritual growth is more than a procedure. It's a valid search for God in the tangled jungle of our souls, a search which involves a volatile mix of messy reality, wild freedom, frustrating stuckness, increasing slowness, and a healthy dose of gratitude. Our second reading comes from Cheryl Richardson. Your values do not necessarily represent your intended work in the world. They signify those things that you must have in your life in order to be your best. From our founder, the Honorable Dr. Ernest Holmes. We are of the world, and it is good that this is so. The world is right when we view it correctly. Who knows what will transpire if all people speak the truth?
We are going to talk about the profane today. Settle in, it's going to be fun. The word profane, I had to look this up. I was like, what is this about? So the word profane actually comes from the classical Latin profanus, which literally means before or outside the temple. So the terminology is really kind of talking about something outside of religion or outside of the spiritual. And we have a tendency, when we look at things like that and consider it that way, to think that those things are wrong or bad or harmful. And what we're going to learn is what we learned last week, is how to bring the sacred into this as well. So in the 1400s, because I know you needed to know this, the meaning meant either desecrating what was holy, or it was with a secular purpose. Now, here's the thing. I talk about this all the time. We are divine beings having a human experience. Guess what? Every now and then, the human wins out. We start acting out, we react to something, we respond to something, and we're kind of like more into that human mindset than we might be into that spiritual and divine. It's okay. And that's what we're going to learn about today, and that's what we're going to focus on throughout this week. So first of all, we are reminded that God is in all things, and that everything is spirit. And here we go back to last month, that the simple paradox is that the sacred and the profane are all expressions of God. Now, that doesn't mean God is creating them or God is making them happen, but that spirit, this essence, this energy is in all of it. That's what we're looking at. So we, as beings on planet Earth, living in form, are designed for physical connection. And yet, this natural design of how we interact with our bodies in the physical form is often classified as profane. And the thing that comes along with that word profane that I hear the most is wrong. That makes it wrong. It's bad. And that's the piece we want to move through and move past today. So I invite each of you this week to look at the entire spectrum of life and the expression of who we are and how we exist. The complete spectrum, not leaving any piece out, not turning away from something and say it's not good or it's wrong. And let us be reminded that there are times when you're going to be more human and you're going to get upset or react. And that, my dear friends, is okay. Right? That's the piece, is that we don't have to go into self-beat up and self-recrimination as soon as we say something or do something that we didn't think we were supposed to do, or that just kind of took us out of that beautiful divinity that we want to live in all the time. It's not quite possible, because we're here in form for a reason,
to learn that side of life and everything that goes with it. I found this quote from Jenn Wilde. She says, most people are living in an illusion based on someone else's beliefs until they wake up. Wow. So anytime we look at change or growth, we are looking at making a shift, letting go of something, and possibly, hopefully, embracing something new. And in that process, we start to hear resounding messages from the past, because that wonderful ego is trying to keep us back here, keep us in this place where we have come from. And so we start to hear these messages, and oftentimes we respond from those messages. We respond from those old beliefs. They've been with us a long time, many, many years. And we don't necessarily consider it, we're not necessarily conscious about it, but what we want to realize is that the world around us is waking up. Everything is shifting, everything is changing. And more people are realizing we have the power to change our lives and the world right now. We have that power. So we're going to consider this activity for this week, and that is to color outside of the lines. And the lines have to do with what we consider to be spiritual and right and good and just and beautiful, and what we consider to be something else. So here's what I want you to think about. The community in Colorado Springs years ago had a group of drag queens as the ushers, and they may have had a bigger part than that in the service, but they invited a group of people that we all know and love, and they had them come in, and they came in all of their wonderful garb and all of their wonderful, beautiful, how do they do that makeup? I mean, it's just amazing. And they had them come in, and they became a part of the Sunday service. So, how many of you that heard what I just said went, ooh? How often do we decide what's appropriate and what's inappropriate? How often do we make the decision that there's no spirituality in that? And that's what I want us to look at. I'm not here today to convince any of you of any of the things I'm going to talk about. I'm only prompting you to give it some thought and some assessment this week. We can say, it's good, it's bad, it's right, it's wrong, it's white, it's black. We can go through that whole process. It's profane, it's sacred. Or we can allow ourselves to consider the sacred within. As we expand our own awareness of this, we're inviting so many subcultures that have been excluded for so many years to be able to participate. If we're truly creating a world that works for everyone, it's important for our spiritual centers to host events and activities that appeal to people of all walks of life. All walks of life. We're being inspired this week to step out of our comfort zone. I think I do that almost every week, to tell us to get out of our comfort zone and invite the people to come to be a part of this time, this sacred time, that don't think the way we do, that don't see the world like we do, and just be in the space. There are many who are already embracing the profane life, and they're being invited to share their truth with us. And all we need to do is be an open container for listening, for honoring, and for hearing what's being said. Our annual theme for this year, which is coming swiftly to a close, is living out loud. I can't think of a better way than to join with all people of all walks of life and celebrate all that we are. Our founder, Dr. Ernest Holmes, offers this quote: "To suppose that the creative intelligence of the universe would create man in bondage and leave him bound would be to dishonor the creative power which we call God." Amazing. Holmes goes on to say this: To suppose that God could make man as an individual without leaving him to discover himself would be to suppose an impossibility. Individuality must be spontaneous. It can never be automatic. Spontaneous versus automatic. Holmes was a pretty wise guy for his time and his era. He makes it clear that the explanation of life, including our bodies and our humanity, is a holy experience. All of it. All of it. The creative intelligence of the universe invites us to explore our own understanding. That's all we're doing this week, is exploring our understanding of all of this, of what we identify as profane, and truly discover and express our authentic nature. The words we use, the clothes we wear, how we style our hair, what color we decide to put on our hair, because there's lots of colorful things going on in that arena, and the way we present ourselves does not define us. We are all divine expressions of God. That's the definition of who we all are. How beautiful. Neil Donald Walsh said, "It has been said that if you don't see God in the profane and the profound, you're missing half the story." Wow, that kind of rocked me when I read that. Oh my goodness. If you're not seeing God in the profane and the profound, you're missing half the story. That's the great truth. God is in the sadness and the laughter, in the bitter and the sweet. There is a divine purpose behind everything, and therefore a divine presence in everything. That's a shift. That's a huge shift in the conscious awareness that some of us have lived for so many years. That's big. And it takes us away from that rigid mindset that maybe some of us grew up with that said, this isn't right, you can't do this isn't appropriate. I mean, just look over history at all of the different things that have come and gone with music and fashion and behaviors and language, activity, how we speak, how we talk, and how some of it kind of hits you kind of wrong and have a challenge with it sometimes. Well, that's something to pay attention to, but it doesn't mean we need to make somebody wrong because of it. That's the place where we get to look at that differentiation. So what does it mean to be profane? Well, if the use of cuss words, expressions of raw sexuality, or believing in unconventional ideas of God is part of that for you, you may want to take some time with that this week and look at that. Where'd that belief come from? How was that instilled in you? What have you adopted? And is it working for you? And if it is, that's fine. That's absolutely okay. I'm just saying, let's take some time and take a look. As we expand our thinking and we understand that God is present in every single experience, including the profane, we discover more freedom in our way of expression. Did you get that? We are locked up tight. We are having a difficult time because there's so much wrong stuff going on out there. I don't even feel comfortable moving. And if I can look at it and see the sacred in it and know that there's nothing wrong, bad, harmful because it's not really hurting me, I'm freer. And when I'm free, I'm me. I can be the expression that I was put here to be, that authentic self. In our philosophy, religious science, we say that all of life is creative. All of life is creative. Who are we to judge? The creative expression of spirit itself. The profane invites us to dive deeper and understand that oneness of all life. The concept of profanity changes from culture to culture. Now, this is where we really get tripped up. I talked about this, some time ago, about the emojis, the little emojis on what is it? Facebook, text messages, and how some of them have very negative meanings to certain groups of people. And whoever put it out there thought it was really cute, the little guy with a smile or whatever, and some people are looking at it and go, ooh, what are they trying to say to me? So we just want, and we don't have to go jump through hoops over it, but we can just be in that place of being okay. So, for example, a thumbs up is a positive sign in the American culture. In Middle Eastern countries, it is the same as using another digit on your hand. I didn't know that. I had no idea. In Japan, tipping money for services is considered insulting. Sexuality is taboo in some cultures and embraced in others. This week, let's take time and explore our own understanding. So let me tell you how this shows up. And it shows up moment by moment. So this past week, I've been celebrating my birthday for quite a while, but this past week was my birthday. And I went to dinner with a friend. And we were in Manitou Springs at Adams Mountain Cafe. If you ever have an opportunity to go there, it's just pleasant, it's incredible, the food is great, the staff is amazing. When our meal was over, the waitress brought us a little kind of a chalkboardy thing. And on the chalkboard, in colored chalk, were the desserts. Well, the restaurants, as many of you know, often have lower lighting. So we've got our phones out and our little flashlights on it, and we're trying to shine it on here, and we're trying to read read all of these things. And of course, some of them had very unique descriptors, and my friend was kind of stumbling over the words, and I finally took the little thing from her, and I said, let me see if I can figure this out. And I came to this one, I said, I don't know what this is, and I'm sorry, I can't remember what the first word was, but it could have been cinnamon, it could have been apple, it could have been something like that. And the next word looked like the word crap. And I said to her, I said, that looks like crap. What does it look like to you? Well, of course, once we say that, that's the only word we can see. And at that moment, the sweetest little waitress came over and she said, do you have questions? And I said, yeah. Does that say crap? And she took a step back and she goes, crisp. And I go, oh my gosh, it does say crisp. And she goes, yeah, but I kind of see how it kind of looks like that word that you said. I said a bad word. She wasn't going to repeat it. I wasn't going to correct her. But we stepped into that moment of the profane, and I reached over and touched her arm, and I said, thank you so much for clarifying this. And I gave her another item on the thing, and I said, we'll go ahead and have that. You know, it's whatever. But that's how it happens. We offset people sometimes. And if we're all caught up in the good, the bad, the right, the wrong, we're going to get offset by that. We're going to be evaluating everyone we're around and their language. Yes, indeed. It can be a little crazy. I have a quote here from Ken Wilber that says, the individual is fundamentally one with the entire universe, with all worlds, high or low, sacred or profane. The sense of identity expands far beyond the narrow confines of the mind and body and embraces the entire cosmos. Oh my goodness, the entire cosmos. So here's something to think about. My job is to spark your belief system and your willingness to look at things, and then you get to go out of here and spend the week trying to decide how you feel and what you want to do, and if you want to do anything differently. So here's my question, and you don't have to answer this. Please do not answer this in the room. Just process. Is marijuana a harmful drug, or is it a medicinal plant that serves as a healthy alternative to many prescription medications? Is a curse word a defiance of God, or is it a defiant form of self-expression? I like that. I like that word right there. Culturally, we see the profane as words or practices that defy the norm. Now, we already knew, we threw norm out back in 2020. The normal is gone. But again, Humans' treatment of each other could be considered profane. Let's look at this a little bit more. Governments that value the lives of the rich, while the country's citizens are hungry and living in the street, could be considered profane. The prevalence of human trafficking, mass incarceration, and over-policing of impoverished people may be considered more profane than the use of the culturally defined swear word. Or maybe religious organizations focus on tradition and ritual instead of the invitation to deepen one's relationship with spirit. That could be considered profane. To some people, the Word of God is profane. When I first came to this philosophy, I was wounded. I was wounded by the religious world that I had grown up with. Now, I won't say that anyone was at fault because they weren't. It was what I had interpreted from what I had been taught my whole life. And it was the belief system that I had embraced that was absolutely impossible to live by. And I wasn't very happy with the word God, Jesus, or church. I had a hard time with that. So we want to consider that. We want to think about that. And we want to look at what does that mean to us and how can we bring the sacred into these thoughts and these ideas, and how can we help heal some of that woundedness? Because in this philosophy, we run into people that are coming from that arena all the time. So of all the people on this planet, religious scientists, I think, this is a place where we really need to step up to the plate, and we really need to have a good handle on this. So this week I encourage you to explore and reframe, if necessary, the concept of profanity. How can we become more accepting of words and practices that have been historically classified as profane? How can we shift our focus to see the spiritual truth in everything, including what is perceived as profane? So what can we do? What can we do this week? Well, we can pray, we can meditate. Let's talk about meditation for a second. Meditate this week on your relationship. You don't have to sit on your knees, and you don't have to do this for hours. Just take some time, some moments in time throughout the week, maybe some time in the morning, some time in the afternoon, and just meditate on your relationship to this very idea. What does it mean to you? What happens in your body when you hear someone use profanity? Those are called swear words that we call those. What happens in your body when you see a behavior that you believe to be absolutely wrong? What can you do? And take that and just allow that meditative process to speak to you and to just carry you through. And by the end of the week, I absolutely guarantee you, if you do this twice a day, every day, even if it's 5-10 minutes at a time, by the end of the week, some of your perceptions, some of your ideas, some of these beliefs that we've held on to so tightly will shift. They will ease up a little bit. They will lighten up. So what I want you to ask yourself this week is, what steps can you take to be more inclusive towards the ideas and beliefs that make you uncomfortable? Because when we are uncomfortable, we are no longer in our comfort zone, and we are open to an opportunity for growth. Doesn't mean you need to take that what are they called, marijuana joint, and take a hit. That's not what I'm telling you to do. I'm not saying that. It doesn't mean you have to participate. It's just, what is your belief on it, and what does it mean to you, and what can you do, and how can you support the world? If you are someone who is comfortable with the profane, as I said before, you can step easily into being authentic. So maybe that's the key for us before we go into meditation, is to recognize all of those moments in time when something's happening throughout our day and we're feeling really uncomfortable. Why am I feeling uncomfortable? Well, somebody just did this to me and that was wrong. It was bad, or they said this, or this happened. Maybe that's the piece that's giving us that key insight to where we want to go with this. I have a story for you. There was a grandma who took her grandson to the beach. She was standing on the shore, watching him out in the water, splashing and playing and wading around and waving, and he was waving at her, when all of a sudden, out of nowhere, came this huge wave and crashed down upon him. And as the water started to recede, he was gone. She dropped to her knees immediately. She began to pray. And in her prayer, she got a mental equivalent. She pictured this mental equivalent of her grandson standing right there where he had been before. She gets this mental equivalent. That's all she's going to see. That's what she's praying for. And she's thinking about this, and she's remembering him here playing on the beach. She releases all of the worry, all of the fear that's wanting to ignite itself. And she knows that he is being returned to her. As she's finished with her prayer, she throws her arms in the air and she says, "And so it is." And a sound booms out of the sky and says, "All right, already." And in that moment, here comes another wave. Huge. And it comes down and it crashes on the shore. And as it recedes, there he is, standing there smiling, waving at Grandma like nothing ever happened. And the voice says, "There, are you satisfied?" And she said, "Well, he had a hat, you know." I love this story because how often do we jump into anxiety, fear, hysteria, instead of dropping to our knees and going into prayer? I have discovered that my God is so powerful. As long as I believe, it will take place, it will be resolved, it will be repaired, replenished, returned, whatever, or better. I know that. And yet, I don't know that I would have had the ability to just drop to my knees in prayer at that moment. Most of us would have been running out into the ocean, screaming and hollering, right? So the two things that I'm sharing with you that you can take into your activities, your spiritual practices this week, and maybe more of what you've already done, is meditation and prayer. How about we go to God first? Now, I don't know that God's going to sound all agitated like he did with his grandmother, but whatever. He had to return the kids, so that's what happened. But anyway, are we able? Are we able to turn it all over to God? Great question to ponder on this week. Byron Katie says this: there are two ways to be. One is at war with reality, and the other is at peace. If you are living any of your life at war with reality or another person, I'm here to tell you that is probably not the best activity for you to be involved in. That is probably not the best way to spend your time. There are so many other things we can do. We can stop using negative adjectives to describe people that have ticked us off. We can stop using that mindset that says, I've got to stay away from that person because they're evil or cruel. Because regardless of their behaviors, they are of source, just like I am. We all came from the same place, the same expression. So how are we today creating brave spaces for our members to share their truth with the community? Are we looking at that? Are we taking time for that? In a few minutes, there will be a ritual taking place with Reverend Bridget. And one of the things that we'll be talking about is relationship, how we relate to self, how we relate to the past, the future, etc. Relationship. Are we open to shifting that? Are we open to looking for the sacred in it and allowing that to be our focus as opposed to the profane that we think is so wrong or so harmful. We need to see ourselves as Spirit does. We are perfect, whole, and complete. That doesn't mean you do everything perfectly. It means you are perfect in the eyes of God. Regardless of our cultural beliefs or how others may see us, we are perfect. We are perfect. What practices are we engaged in? Do we keep practices secret? Do we hide because we're afraid or we're concerned that we will be judged as being profane or wrong? When I live in my authentic space and I allow myself to mess up, make mistakes, say stupid stuff, whatever, it gives others the opportunity to be free to be them. I want to be free to be me. I want to be sure that I'm setting the place and the standard for everyone else to feel free to be who they are. When we step into judgment, my friends, we have created a separation from us and the divine. Not because God went anywhere, but because we shut some stuff down and we're not listening. Because we're running off on that righteous trek every now and then, just going on and on and on and on and on about all what's wrong with the world. And so we want to pay attention to that. We want to pay attention to what are we bringing? Am I always negative? Am I always critical? Can I shift that? Can I change that? Absolutely. Absolutely I can. We are living in the profane and the sacred and the mundane all at the same time. And how we choose to consciously be aware of it is what we're creating our experience with. We all have the opportunity to take everything that we've learned and put it into practice, expressing ourselves more authentically and creating that same space for others. When we include the voices of the many from all walks of life in spiritual communities, we're taking a crucial step to create a world that works for everyone. Today at noon in Colorado Springs at Club Q, they had a ceremony for the 5 peoples whose lives were taken a year ago. For anyone who's watching this video or in this room that doesn't know what Club Q is, it is a community celebration bar, musical venue where people of all walks of life can go, especially the LGBTQ community. And a year ago, there was a hate crime where someone stepped into that place and began shooting. We can honor that. We can honor their expression. We can love that about them and not go into that place of judging and distancing ourselves from them. As we let go of that judgment and we choose peace, it starts to show up everywhere, absolutely everywhere. So the call to action this week, 2 simple little steps. In all of this awareness that you're going to be looking at this week, meditate, take it to prayer. Take it to prayer first. Join me as we pray now. In the beauty of this day, in this amazing, incredible season that we are in, we know that God is present. This morning as I walk and I looked at the trees that appear to be dead, the leaves are gone from most of them, and they're just standing there, and they appear to be dead, but they are not. They are still part of the creative process that is God. God is within that because those roots from those trees go deep into the ground, and they are connected to that life force. What a great example for each of us to allow ourselves and our faith to go deeper into that place where we connect with the divine all the time. Because when I am always connected in that place with the divine, when I'm always in that place of awareness, I see no harm. I see no profane. I see only the sacred. And as we go through this week and we take time to look at this, we know there are still things for us to do. Sometimes when we take that moment and go into prayer, we know that a message will come to us that tells us to take action. Yes, yes, how beautiful and perfect that is. And so this week we take time to just look at life, to just tap into our belief system and to allow the space for everyone around us to be the full expressions of the divine that they are in their authentic manner. What a beautiful world we're creating. A world that works for everyone. And so knowing that God is in all of this and God is in each and every one of us, I know that all of humankind is connected. And at some level, we are able to find that path that tells us how we can connect and create and become a part of the greater and the better and the more beautiful, the free, the authentic. So this week we just allow this to percolate within us. And we pay attention to how we respond and how we react, knowing that if we choose and as we choose to shift and change, Spirit is there with us all the time. And I know in this place of divinity that each and every one of us can live, can express our lives in a holy, holy way. And so we just let this go. We let it be, and we say together, and so it is.
Oh, let me love in a holy, holy way. Let me love in a holy, holy way. Oh, let me love in a holy, holy way. Oh, let me love in a holy, holy way. Oh, let me know love is all around you. Oh, let me know love is all around us. Oh, let me live in a holy, holy way. Let me live in a holy, holy way. Oh, let us know love can heal us all. Oh, let us know that love can heal us all. Oh, let me know love can heal us all. Oh, let me live in a holy, holy way. Oh, let me love in a holy, holy way. Let me love in a holy, holy way. Oh, let me love, and love is all around us. Oh, let me feel love is all around us. Oh, let me know love is all around us. Oh, let me love in a holy, holy way. Oh, let me love in a holy, holy way. Oh, let me love in a holy, holy way. Oh, let me love in a holy, holy way.
Hello. I'm Reverend Jenn Wilde, Senior Minister for New Dawn Center for Spiritual Living. New Dawn Center is a global community, and we welcome all people, all paths, all ways of thinking, all philosophies. So know that you are welcome here, and thank you for joining our online community.